Hey there, in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Apprentix as a manager. So it's really quite simple. When you log in as a manager, the first thing you're going to go to is the home screen. On the home screen, you're going to see either one of two things. Like this, you'll either see some actions that you need to take, and those will be clickable, and you can go directly to the actions that you need to do, take care of them, in and out. You'll be done within a couple minutes tops. Or if all of your to-dos are done, you'll receive a message here that says something like, hooray, you're all good. You don't have to do anything. And so this is the point of Apprentix, is to make it really easy for you to be actionable. Take action, get in, get out, no administrative burden, just take care of the things that you need to do so that you can focus on your work. Now, when you have action items to take care of, let me show you what it is that you would need to do. On the left-hand side, first of all, you've got a navigation screen. And let me just walk you through those things, and so you can see how all of these pieces work. The apprenticeship is all of the information about this particular apprenticeship. So who's the program sponsor, for example, what's the job description, what's the classroom plan. You might take a look down here and you'll see these are all the classes that are supposed to be taken. What's the on-the-job plan, so that you can understand what type of work am I supposed to be assigning to the person. These are all expandable. You've got basically at this bolded level are job functions, basically processes that need to be learned. And then underneath them are competencies. Those are the competencies that would demonstrate that that person has learned the thing in bold. So in this case, for example, you'd see all three of these, and these would tell you, here's what needs to be learned. When you click inside of it, you can see how many hours are required. For example, in this particular case, there's 15 hours that are required. And so that tells you what you need to know about the apprenticeship. The wage schedule tells you when the apprentice will get raises based on whatever the design has been. In this case, you can see there's a number of different wage progressions. But when you make approvals, whenever it's going to trigger a wage progression, meaning that somebody's done something, an apprentice has done something, and they're now eligible for a raise, or they're going to get a raise, you're going to get a warning sign that says, hey, just make sure that when you say this is approved, you realize that person is going to get more money. So make sure that they know this. That's basically the point. You can also see the mentoring pieces, what supportive services are being provided, and what's the recruiting process. And so the whole idea here basically is to give you, in a nutshell, everything about the apprenticeship itself, so that if you ever had any questions about how are we doing this apprenticeship, the design of it is all here for you. Now, let's look at people really quickly as well. You can see all the different team members that are in the system specific to this apprenticeship. If your company has multiple apprenticeships, that's not going to show up here, everyone in all apprenticeships. It's just going to show you who is in this particular apprenticeship. We've got it all listed out by all. You can see on the tab here, you've got cohort. If you had any cohorts designed, sometimes companies will start a group of apprentices at once in the cohort. If you had that, you would have the cohort label, name, and all of the people inside of it. And then the different job titles, who are the different apprentices, et cetera, inside of here. And so you could click and see that. So that'll tell you who's involved in this particular apprenticeship. The performance tools is where you're going to live. This is really the work that you have to do to come in, make sure that you review and either reject or approve time submissions or evaluations. Time tracking is pretty simple in the sense that an apprentice, in this case, you can see Andy Apprentice, has submitted these different times for their logs, right? Basically, they go in every week, the apprentice does. They say, I've worked this many hours, and they allocate their time to different courses and or different competencies. So that way they could say, I've spent 2 hours here, 4 hours here, 3 hours here, etc. You get to look at that and say, yeah, they actually did. I approve it. Or no, that's not how many hours they spent on it. Let me edit it, and then I'll approve that. So here in this case, you can see there's this one ready for approval. If you just looked at it and said, yeah, they did that 4.5 hours, you could just hit approve. But if you wanted to go inside of it and say, you know what, I feel like they actually did, it was only 4 hours, you might change that to 4. And you might want to look at the evidence that they have for saying, yeah, I did it. And that's just a screenshot that was taken. So whatever file was uploaded by the apprentice. And once you're ready, you would say, okay, save changes. And then you'd come over here and hit approved, right? So in this case, I didn't actually save it. Let's do that. For example, now you can see it changes to 4 hours, and now we might say it's approved. That's it. That's all you got to do. If you're on your home screen, you say approve timesheets. It says time to make apprentices happy, approved time for 2 pending requests. You're always going to know how many pending requests you have. Just go in here and you've got those 2. They're ready to go for you. Just hit approved if they're approved, edit them if they're not. And evaluations are the next one. Evaluations relate to things that an apprentice is learning, competencies that they need to achieve, that is training, but there's no like time requirement against them. This is especially I think notable for hybrid and competency based apprenticeships and the skills that aren't technical where time isn't required. They're behavioral skills, for example. And so what you'll have is 2 sides to this. Let me move this little thing out of the way. The 2 sides are, on your side, you can create an evaluation for an apprentice. You could go in here and say, okay, it's on today's date. Here's the apprentice that's, a direct report. And this is the competency that I saw them do. Okay. And I saw them with my own eyes. Obviously, you would want to do something better than that. Upload some sort of a file that would provide substantiation and the rating. The rating is basically saying, are they not in training? Are they in training? Or are they proficient? We're trying to make this really simple. We don't want to blur lines around like, well, they're in training, but they're not that good yet. They're just doing fundamentals. They're in training and they've achieved this. Like, no. We're just trying to make it really simple. Are they in training? Yes or no? And if they are in training, are they proficient at it? Are they done? Basically. So this is not in training, proficient. They're done. That's the only rating systems that you'll need. So you just mark that. And in this case, I might say they're in training on this. Okay. And looks like I need to upload some sort of a file. I don't know. I'll just pretend to upload something here because you have to substantiate the claim with something. And then I'll say save. Okay. So that's one way to do an evaluation, is to determine that this person has, accomplished something or is in training on a particular competency. And this will also tell you what kind of work you need to assign someone, because ultimately, if someone's not in training or is in training on something and hasn't yet reached proficiency, that's the kind of work you're going to be looking to assign them, right? To give them so that they can learn it and they can demonstrate it. So that's how evaluations work. I said there's 2 sides of this. The other side is an apprentice actually can submit a request, and they themselves can say, hey, can you evaluate me on this particular competency or course or whatever it is? And they can say, here's the thing I would like you to evaluate me on. Here's my evidence for that. You would then review the evidence and evaluate them. You would say whether they're in training or not in training or proficient. Quite simple. Again, if you're on your home screen, you'd see here you have 1 pending request. This is the one that's pending. Okay, so we see, okay, Andy Apprentice submitted. It's an other type. Here's the description, and if you wanted to, you could go in and edit it. You might say, okay, this is the date. And yeah, this guy's, he's now in training. Okay. And so it would show you that person's in training. So that's basically how you would handle any type of evaluations. You can also give feedback, and feedback is really simple. It's just documenting feedback to a particular apprentice. So here's my feedback, right? That's it. You can also look at wage increases that have occurred, so that when wage increases have occurred, when they occur too. You'll receive a message on your home screen that says, please notify your payroll to increase this person's wage by X amount because they've achieved this particular competency. And that's really it. All those performance tools. There's some reports in here. Right now we've got 1 default report, and then we'll be adding reports as we go along. This apprentice report, you just click on view. It'll download a spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, you'll be able to see a number of different fields and pieces of data. Basically, you'll see progress by apprentice, how much of their courses, what % of their courses have they completed, what % of their competencies on the job learning have they completed, demographic information about them. So it's a pretty big raw data export, if you will. And then we'll be customizing other reports so that you have a number of different ways that you can see things that are helpful for you. Ultimately, the idea here is just to make it so easy for you to be able to know exactly what kind of work you need to give to the apprentices, as well as being able to review, edit, and approve time and evaluations so that they're continuing to make progress. If you have any questions, please do let us know. Thanks.